What's up, everyone? This is June 28th, 2026. This is episode 7306. And yesterday was my 20th birthday. Well, the day was incredibly different of what I could have ever imagined. I had my first acid trip ever from Friday to Saturday. Today's Sunday. And it was bad overall because I couldn't not think of something like intellectually at all. Like I wasn't allowed. I didn't have the ability of think of just random stuff. I had to always be thinking about how society was and so on, and what I could become as a man. What is a man, and so on, and just nature and just reality as one thing. But the thing is, this drug lasts for like 12, 15, 20 hours. So imagine 20 hours thinking about that. But anyways, I could have I could come up with some interesting stuff that I want to share today. I'll leave the updates on my life for other days. Today, I just want to talk about the conclusions that I could get with this huge trip on my birthday, which wasn't good. I really regret it because I spent my whole birthday of 20 years that I will never have the same way it was again. I will never be this. Um, at the same time, I'm responsible. I'm that I don't have to be, like I don't have children and so on, and I can just like use LSD and spend the day tripping. Anyways, um, I spent my 20th birthday sleepy as hell because I didn't sleep at night because it was on this effect. I spent the whole night crazy, like hallucinating and thinking about that and crying and so on. My girl took it too. She didn't like her trip wasn't even close to mine, so she didn't actually understand what I was saying, what I was doing. She didn't actually get it, and I don't think she will ever get it. At least not in a couple years. I don't think a girl understands what is to become a man, like the leader of your family, and so on. But anyways, no wonder why society is this piece of shit. You know, everyone knows. But what I came as in a conclusion is that it's much deeper than the government or any institution. Is that everyone is failing extremely as a person, as an individual. The thing is, we don't know how to move, right? As a karate practitioner, I had the benefit of having a sensei that actually knew how to move. So, how you should go sideways, how you should generate power with your body, what you should not do. No one knows this. Even karate practitioners, even fighters, they don't know how to move. We don't know how to breathe, and especially we don't know what we are. Because the thing that I couldn't stop thinking about for at least 8 hours straight yesterday was that we're just animals. We're like monkeys with an intellectual of an angel. That's the origin of the problem. Because if you look at a monkey, it's very easy to understand what is the perfect life of a monkey, what the monkey should eat, what the monkey should do, right? Why is it not that easy for us? Given that our body is basically that. Our body is basically an animal. If we look at ourselves as an animal, we will know what to eat, we will know what to do, pretty much, right? And no one knows what you eat. Everyone is poisoning themselves. Every single person, including myself, we're poisoning ourselves. Uh, we don't get rest. We don't get enough sleep. We don't get quality sleep, which is the most important thing of all. Um, and we don't have tradition. No one has a clan anymore that has actually a history and has actually people enough that you can rely to. I mean, very small, um, very few people. That's the problem. The problem is that we don't have tradition as a country. No one knows uh, what our country is and what their country is actually. Especially in Brazil, we think that we're something that we actually aren't. In Brazil, we call síndrome do vira-lata, you know. Vira-lata is a type of dog that is abandoned, that has no actual breed. You know, it's a mix of everything. It's a dog from the street. And we have this syndrome that we think Brazil is this. Brazil is actually the most goated country of all. And it would be now if it weren't for the republic. If it weren't for democracy as it is right now, right? Which is actually not democracy. So we have no tradition. We don't know what we come from. We have no family. We're constantly poisoning ourselves with food. And then, as a consequence of constant poisoning, we get sick. And then, as a remedy of our sicknesses, what do? We get sedated. We don't actually solve the fucking problem. That's the pharmacy industry, right? Us getting basically sedated and not actually solving the problem, right? We don't get sleep, which is the most important thing of all. And every thought that we have has to be put in a box, which is our language. Most people don't even know one language. Most people will read something and they won't understand what they're reading deeply. They won't actually understand it. They can't read one thing and then explain that really clearly to a 5-year-old. Most people can't. The problem is, even if you do have 100% of your one language, our language is made uh, by people that thought in a certain way. So you're obligated to fit your thoughts in that box, which is the language. Most people have a very, very tiny box, a minuscule box. But even if you have a big box, you only have one, and that was made for people that think in a certain way, so you're obligated to think in that way. You can't think if it isn't with languages, right? So even if you have one completely and you understand everything, you're still limited. Even if you have 2 or 3 languages, you're still limited, right? You have to know as many languages and as many words and as many structures as you can so you can think better. But even if you did, and even if everyone did, they don't know actually how to think, how to structure your thoughts, right? How to actually look at yourself and look at every situation as a third person without actually being involved, which is something that has a lot to do with seeing ourselves as animals, right? One thing that I couldn't stop thinking about is that it's very easy for me to judge my dad, to judge my grandpa, to judge other people, what they do, how they act, and how unreasonable most of the things they do are. But the thing is, now that I'm actually becoming a man, I understand that as a man, you have to build certain behaviors for safety because basically it's you. You have the power, you have the responsibility over lives, many lives, right? You have trauma, you have a lot of stuff. So it's very easy for me to, with my perspective, with my filter that I have in my life, with my experiences, to look at someone else and then judge. But if I can't look as a third person and look at someone else as an animal, why does that animal act like that? Because of this and this and that. It becomes much easier, right? But the thing is, we don't know how to think. We don't know how to analyze the situation. We don't even know what our emotions are. So we can't think. We can't express our thoughts. We can't understand ourselves. We don't know anything about our bodies. We're constantly poisoning ourselves. We can't get rest. We're constantly sedated. And we're constantly feeding our minds with the worst possible trash of all. Every entertainment piece, especially modern movies, they're the biggest piece of shit of all, right? They embed deeply in your mind things that aren't real. And you see that enough since you're a kid to the point that you physically can't escape that. You can't escape that incredibly huge amount of thoughts and beliefs that are unreal from movies and from entertainment and from other people that saw these movies and told you things that aren't real, that you will constantly be unhappy. That is the thing, right? And it's not that society is bad because of a form of government or because of Freemasonry or because of some institution only. Is that every single person is this, what I've just described in the past 5, 6, 10 minutes. That is the problem. We have no tradition, we have no health, we have nothing. We have no family. There's no young people enough anymore. Every family has 1, 2 children, and that's it. And if someone has 3, 4, 5, they're constantly judged. This is collectively as a society. And then these people that judge, they have no idea, and they every day wonder why they're extremely unhappy. Because they're smoking, they're using drugs, their entertainment is the worst piece of shit of all. They don't study, they don't uh, deliberately go through hard stuff to train themselves to get calluses in their minds and in their bodies. It's the biggest possible disaster of all, right? If you look at yourself as an animal, you will know that what you have to eat is way far than what you actually eat, right? What do animals eat? That's it, right? What does the body ask to have as food? It's not a bunch of supplements. That's not it. Our body was developed in a certain ambient and in a certain way that it's actually made that even if you don't eat the best food, the most nutrient food, even if you stay 1 week, 3, 4, 5 days in 1 week or even 2 weeks without food, you still will survive. Even if you have to hunt an animal down, like a mammoth, whatever, for 72 hours running straight with 10 people with you, you will still be able to do that. But what we have now is we have technology enough that even a person that is poor, that makes like 2.5 or 3K a month, they still can simulate the best possible sleep every day and the best possible food every day. We can simulate with few resources actually the life that even the best person, the king, the most powerful person in the ambient, in the society that our bodies were made to and developed from, couldn't. We can do the most optimal stuff like that our body couldn't imagine. What do? We basically fucking do the opposite. We can do worst than our ancestors did, than the primitive humans did. We literally do worse than that. That is fucking believable. And that's it. No wonder why society is a piece of shit and everyone thinks and feels like a slave, like they're in hell. It's not because of an external thing. It's because we poison ourselves every single day for our entire lives. Since we're a fucking baby, we're poisoned. We don't have sun. We don't have good enough water. We don't have good enough air. We don't have good enough sleep. We don't have good enough genes because we have generations behind us doing the same shit. We don't have good enough education. We can't read. We can't understand what we come across. Anything. We can't express yourselves. That's why society is a piece of shit, right? The optimal human doesn't need to be something from utopia, where you would work 3, 4 hours a day and get a lot of sun, the best possible air. The optimal human in 2026 can have all that and still work 8 to 12 hours a day. And then exercise intensely for 1, 2 hours, take supplements, hit their macros every single day, their micros every single day, take blood tests, sleep as good as they can for 8, 9 hours, and they will feel amazing. And the problem is these type of people that do that for their bodies, that understand they're fucking animals. So they should treat themselves as they treat an animal. There's a specific type of food that you should eat. If you give chocolate to a dog, they will fucking die. But if you give the worst possible food for humans, they don't die, but they do die because of that, but not immediately. That's the problem, right? And then they start dying slowly, and then as an answer, as a consequence of them dying, of us dying, we sedate ourselves with remedies. That is not just conspiracy. That's the reality. Just look at how society is, right? People don't have children. That's the worst possible shit of all. The worst possible shit, right? And one other thing that I was thinking about is that, at least for me, I've always thought I could outperform and outwit nature itself, to the point that I could see it happening when I would become a man, right? But you don't see it happening. All of a sudden, you replaced your dad, and your dad replaced your granddad, and now you're the pillar of society again, right? Who grants society as it is, who keeps it happening? The adults. And these adults, the thing is, no wonder why society is a piece of shit and is completely collapsing. If even the air you breathe is horrible, the water you drink is poisoned, is unfiltered, full of shit. The toothbrush that you brush your teeth with is poison too. The food that you eat, every single thing, even the healthy things, are horrible. Even the milk that you drink is not milk. Every single thing. And then you can't think because your body doesn't have resources enough to think. And you weren't educated enough to think. And you don't know words enough and structures enough from languages to think properly and to express yourself properly. And every single friend that you have is not, if it's not that, it's even worse than that. You look at a piece of artwork and you can't, be it music, be it visual, be it anything, you can't even understand what you're seeing. If everyone looks, out of 1,000 people, they look at a piece of artwork, 999 won't understand actually what it is, even if explained to them, because they can't understand the words. Most people, right? And not only that, but even these people are stopping to exist. We're having less and less and less people even to do dumb stuff, right? No wonder why society is a piece of shit. You don't have siblings, you don't have cousins, and the ones that you don't have friends enough, and the ones that you do are this. If you listen to a song, you're either being poisoned or you can't understand what is going on. You go out on the street and every piece of architecture is squared, is everything but beautiful. And then by walking on the street, you see two, three trees that are completely unhealthy. And the clothes that you're wearing are made of plastic. And the instruments that you use to cook are poisoned and are made of plastic. And the recipients, the containers where you store your food, are made of plastic, are poisoned. That's why everyone has ADHD, autism, or can't think, right? And that's not hard to do. It's not hard to have good enough sleep, good enough diet, and actually pushing yourself to become the best you could be by understanding art, understanding languages, understanding history, understanding tradition, and having a bunch of children. This last part is hard as fuck, but if you do all the others prior to that, it's not. If you do the worst possible shit evolve while you're awake, but you put effort to actually sleep good, sleep as optimally as you could, you would already be top 1% of the world intellectually, right? And as a consequence of sleeping well, you would start eating better and so on. But the thing is, it's not new. Everyone, not everyone, but hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions of people across the world actually eat healthy and sleep healthy. But that's not the only problem. The problem is in every single thing of all, the way you live, right? And it only gets worse. As generations go by, people have less and less tradition, less and less awareness of what's going on, less and less awareness of where they come from, what they have to do. And these people that have less and less all of this that I've just mentioned, they will become the pillars of society. They will replace who is right now. Gen Z is becoming, and some people are already the pillars of society, the ones that hold society happening. And Gen Z is a piece of shit. Imagine Gen Alpha, right? Millennials were already a piece of shit. Gen Z could be a piece of shit by a gazillion times. This obviously has to do with institutions and so on, but it's not just a evil company doing all that. It's every single person failing at once. And my point is that you don't need to be extremely rich to just not do that. If you just look at yourself as the animal that you are, with an intellectual of an angel, but you're still a fucking monkey, an animal, almost all of this is solved. You don't need to study every single scientific research, and this research suggests this research suggests that. You don't need this. You just need to understand that you're a fucking animal. That's it. And that you should eat certain things that humans are meant for humans, such as meat and organs and fruit. That's it. You should do what your body's made to do. Because if you don't, you feel like shit and you do shit and your life is a piece of shit. Because of lack of sleep, lack of good enough water in a good quantity and a good quality, and the same with air, and the same with art, and the same with light, and the same with every single thing, friends, siblings, cousins, and so on, you become 1% of what you could have been. There's this David Goggins sentence: I don't know what's going to happen when I die, but my biggest fear in life is that this God shows me you could have been this and you didn't reach that. This will happen, right? But he seems to believe that he's actually becoming what the most of his potential, like he's living to his fullest. He's not. He's still poisoning himself with shit and doing shit to his body that our body isn't meant to, right? Even the people that are aware of this, of how everyone is not living to their fullest potential, still poison themselves with shit, still do things that the body isn't meant to. With the technology that we have, we can basically do every single thing the body asks to. Not only the natural stuff, but if our body lacks a mineral or lacks a substance, we can literally inject it. Literally. And if it's not sunny every day, we have devices that will simulate a sunny day for you to wake up and adjust your circadian rhythm. And so on and so forth. Right? Even if you were the most powerful man, like 1,000 years ago, you couldn't eat salmon every day if you lived in like fucking Portugal or whatever, I think. Or if you lived in, I don't know, America, if you were an indigenous man. And now we have access to every single nutrient, every single food, every single fucking day. And every possible optimal to the fullest uh, feature that you would need to feel awesome, and to actually be awesome, be what you can, and your children and the next generations be the as good as they can be. And what do we do? Worse than any indigenous person, any primitive. We live worse than Neanderthals. Fucking Neanderthals. We live worse than these people. How is that fucking possible, honestly? And then our body starts having these huge inflammations, and we have bad mood all of a sudden, and then we feel like shit, and then we think it's anything but what we eat, or how we sleep, or everything that we wear, or everything that we see and consume. Literally, everything, right? From our lungs to our pancreas to our kidneys to our stomach and our brains, our eyes, our ears, our skin, every single thing that has uh, that comes across, that has contact with every single one of our organs is poison, is piece of shit. And then we wonder why society is collapsing and why everyone has no idea what they're doing, and everyone feels like shit, feels like they're in hell, like slaves, right? We don't go through hard stuff to callous ourselves, and then when something hard eventually happens because everyone is poisoned, we think like it's the end of the world, right? Like that we want to kill ourselves. And then we wonder, for example, why our memories are horrible, why it's so hard to learn. We don't even know how to learn. And what's even worse than that, just to finish, is that most people aren't aware of that. And these people that aren't aware, and even the ones that do, they think they're too good. How would you think that you're actually something if you don't know even how to breathe? You don't know how to breathe. You don't know how to move. You have no tradition. You understand nothing about history. You don't know even to think. You don't know how to express yourself. And you're fucking poisoned your whole life and 3, 4 generations before you and all the other generations after you, if you have descendants. How in the fucking world do you fucking think that you're something worth? How do you think that you're actually good at anything in this situation? I think we should get down off our high horses and start looking at ourselves as animals and do what our body asks to do. We'll just feel good and do good stuff, and that's it. And have a bunch of children to do the same thing. And then all of a sudden we again start having clans and start having huge families, and everyone's healthy. Everyone uh, is actually living to their fullest potential. That's it.